Alright, another day, another video in the strongest battlegrounds. Now, as you can see, I'm sitting in a chair in the middle of nowhere. And the reason as to why I'm sitting in this chair is because today I'm going to be doing a lot of deep thinking. Now, you might be asking, Aaron, why are you going to be doing a lot of deep thinking today? Well, first, before I tell you all the answers to that question, let me introduce you to RNG Battlegrounds, which is pretty much a mix of Souls RNG and the strongest battlegrounds, in which you just roll for moves and then you get to use them and equip them to your inventory and then fight with them. Now, one thing that really intrigued me about this game was the rolling system and the rarity chances that are given to moves, and that got me wondering, what if I were to apply these same rarity chances to characters in the strongest battlegrounds? Well, today, my friends, that is what I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna give every single character a rarity chance, and then I'm gonna see who the rarest character would be. Now, let's go down this list in order, starting with the strongest hero. Now, the first character that we have on the list is the strongest hero, aka Saitama, and I think it would be very fitting to give Saitama a 1 out of 5 drop. Now, I think it should be clear as to why I'm giving him this drop rating. To explain, he's a very simple character all around. He has very simple moves that do what they say. He has simple animations. He kind of has an okay wall combo. It's kind of funny. He's basically a very accurate representation of Saitama from the anime. Now, regarding his ultimate and the damage aspect of him, he is very destructive. Even though he's restricted to one move, Saitama is still very powerful in base and in ultimate. He also has a pretty good passive that makes his ultimate gain faster every time you do damage. Despite all of that, I think the 1 out of 5 drop is very fitting for Saitama. Alright, for the next character that we have on the list, we have Garu, aka the Hero Hunter. Now, I think for Garu, a 1 out of 150 drop rate would be fitting for him. Now, with Garu, we have the first character to have a unique trail effect, which is his blue trail. And you can see this trail being used when he punches or uses his various moves in his moveset. And speaking of his moveset is very martial arts based, just like the Garu from One Punch Man. Now, Garu has very great damage output. He has amazing combos that are very easy or very hard. He has very cool animations and deadly finishers, and his passive is very useful, which whenever you kill somebody, you gain health, which is probably one of the best passives in the game just because of that. Now, speaking of his ultimate, now unlike Saitama, Garu actually has an ultimate startup animation instead of just clashing his hands together, in which he spews blood on the ground and then creates a large crater in the area, which deals damage to anybody and ranges based on how close they are to the Garu. The ferocious aspect of his kit also carries over into his ultimate moves, and you can see that because he just seems to get more angry. Now, for the next character on the list, we have the menacing cyborg, aka Genos. Now, for Genos, I think a 1 out of 1,000 drop rate would be fitting, and that might sound crazy to you, but just hear me out. Now, with Genos, you have the first character to have an actual item that you equip, which is his unique cybernetic arms that are used to attack and spew flames. Now, with Genos, you have unique flame blast attacks, insanely high damage output, and great combos that can completely decimate enemies. His finishers are extremely destructive and overpowered. He has a very versatile moveset in base and ultimate. Like, he can deal large amounts of area damage. He has a lot of mobility as well. Now, speaking of his ultimate startup is decent. It's nothing crazy. It just shows him powering up, getting faster, you know, all the basic cyborg stuff that you see. Oh, and one thing I did not mention, his passive, I think, is easily the best in the game. Every time you kill someone in base, his moves reset. Every single one of his moves reset, and this passive also carries over into his ultimate with 2 moves, Speed Blitz, Dropkick, and Thunder Kick. And in his ultimate, he has very destructive moves, which, of course, his destructive potential is going to be increased like tenfold. And one of these destructive moves is Incinerate, which completely fires an insanely large flame blast attack that covers a very large radius of the map. So with all these facts regarded, I think the 1 out of 1,000 drop rate would be fitting for Genos. Alright, for the next character that we have on the list, we have the Deadly Ninja, aka Sonic. Now, for Sonic, I think a 1 out of 500 drop rate would be very feasible for him. And the reason why is because he's the first character in the game to wield a unique sword. He also holsters the sword on his back when it's not in use, which of course gives him extra points. He has unique purple slashes when hitting people with the sword, a very fast sword swing, extremely fast moves that grant the user extra mobility, a decent passive that lets you teleport, granting you even more mobility. It's very hard to tell where a Sonic is going to pop up with his teleport. His moveset is decent, but it's received a lot of nerfs. He has good combos. And now, speaking of his ultimate startup, I think, is very, very impressive. I like the fact that a lot of after images show up next to him as he speeds up and starts to unleash his true power. It goes without saying that his ultimate moveset is very devastating. Obviously, I think the best in the game if you take Saitama out of the equation. And of course, his moves are just extremely fast and in the ultimate, and it's hard to track, and honestly he's very annoying to deal with in this state. Now for the next character that we have on the list, we have the Brutal Demon, aka Metal Bat. Now for Metal Bat, I think I'm gonna give him a 1 out of 300 drop, and this might sound crazy, but there's not really anything special about him besides his bat and probably his ultimate. Now as Metal Bat, you wield a unique bat that envelops Metal Bat's brash personality, and also he holsters the bat on the shoulder when it's not in use. I really like that attention to detail. His moves are very chaotic, especially in base, and they always do strong collateral damage, which I really like that fact. It shows Metal Bat's recklessness, and I think Metal Bat's combos are so annoying to deal with, even more annoying than Sonic, because if you get put in a combo and you are trying to use your evasive, it's kind of hard to escape. On top of that, a lot of his moves have a lot of variants, which makes it tricky to deal with Metal Bat and upping his drop rate a little bit more than, let's say, Garu. And his passive is alright. It helps you gain ultimate when you're damaged, which I like that. It represents Metal Bat's fighting spirit. But the main part of Metal Bat that I think is the most important is his ultimate. Now, as you start up your ultimate, Metal Bat hits himself in the head 3 times, making himself look like a psycho, but this is to start up his fighting spirit, which grants him a red aura, which is very, very intimidating. His ultimate, goes without saying, is very destructive, and he's also one of the only 2 characters in the game to have a death counter in ultimate besides Saitama. Alright, the next character that we have on the list is the Blade Master, aka Atomic Samurai. Now, he flies under the radar a lot of the time, but despite that fact, I think I'm gonna give him a 1 out of 400 drop rate. Now, as Atomic Samurai, you wield a unique heavy and long katana that shows a calm but fierce nature of these samurais. His moves and his punches, or sword swings as I should say, have a heavier feeling to them, which I think really adds to the high risk, high reward nature of the samurai's cape, which makes him very fun to use. His combos are amazing, his damage output is very high, his passive is alright. When you kill somebody, you light your sword on fire and you do extra damage. Now his ultimate is very spectacular. Upon startup of your ultimate, you light your sword on fire and then you cause like a mini nuke in the area, which absolutely destroys anybody that's near you. And of course, his ultimate moves are literal explosions, which I don't think I gotta say anymore. He's very overpowered in his ultimate, and the sword also stays on fire until the end of the ultimate. All around, I think Atomic Samurai is a very fun character, and 1 out of 400 drop rate, I think that's pretty reasonable for him. Now the next character that we have on the list is the Wild Psychic, aka Tatsumaki, which I'm gonna give the highest drop rate out of all the base characters with a 1 out of 2,000 drop rate. I would not go any lower than that, and the reasons why are because she deals damage with her unique psychic punches, which are not really punches, they're more like pulses and slashes that she pretty much unfolds in the air, and it really encompasses the unique psychic personality of Tatsumaki from the anime. Now her moves are very mid and long range. Her damage output is extremely high. She's very hard to counter. She has some ability, especially with her manual flight move. She is the first character to have a manual flight move. Now her combo, she has like this one easy combo that is extremely devastating and takes no skill at all to use. Her passive is pretty amazing and very annoying at the same time. When she kills somebody, she creates a small dome around her that completely blocks her from all attacks. Her wall combo is pretty nice. I really like the fact that she just yeets a rock into somebody's face. I think that's like one of the best wall combos. And now, speaking of her ultimate is very unique. On startup, she creates a fairly large tornado in the area, and anybody that's around it gets dragged into it, and then it pretty much spews them out like a piece of trash. And her ultimate moves are extremely destructive and probably the most unique out of all the ultimate moves. Like, one of her moves drags a comet out of the solar system and brings it down onto the ground, which I think is like amazing and represents the character perfectly. And with all these things mentioned and in mind, I think a 1 out of 2,000 drop rate, I don't think anything lower than this would be fair. Now for the next and most recent character, which is currently in early access to be released, would be Suryu, aka the martial artist. Now for Suryu, I think I'm gonna make him the same drop rate as Garu and give him a 1 out of 150 drop rate. Now I really feel that Suryu is just a watered down version of Garu, but despite that fact, he still has his differences. Like, he's a martial artist with unique punches. He also has a unique trail, which is purple. His moves, instead of being punches, they're now leg based, which I think is awesome. He's like, him and Garu are like 2 sides of a coin. He has very good combos, and his finishers are pretty cool. Like, one finisher, you literally use somebody as a board and just slide with them under you on the ground until they just ride to their death. Now his ultimate startup is amazing. He literally turns into a dragon, which roars and then comes down into the ground, dealing area damage, which spans very far. Now right now he doesn't have a passive or ultimate moves, but I'm really interested to see what they do with Suryu. Alright, for the next character that we have on the list, we have the sorcerer, aka Gojo. Since Gojo is only exclusive to private servers, I'm gonna apply that logic to drop rates and make him a 1 out of 100 trillion chance to obtain, which you might think sounds crazy, but it's obviously like very clear as to why. Gojo is overpowered and he should never ever belong in a public server. He has unique punches which hit heavily and create a small impact on the person that he's punching. He also has a unique barrage attack in his non-infinity mode, which deals a lot of damage as well. He also deals black flashes when he's punching people. So if he fully completes an M1 cycle, you will deal a black flash at the end of it, which completely kills somebody, which is absolutely insane. And once again, reinforces the fact that Gojo does not belong in public servers. He actually has a mode switch in his base kit, which is very strange and unique, which is called Infinity. Upon activating Infinity, you pretty much switch into the overpowered state of Gojo, where he is literally untouchable. Now, the passive side of this is when people get closer to you, they slow down like completely to the point where they can't even move anymore. Also, you are completely invincible. Moves do not affect you. Nothing can kill you. Anything that people try to use on you will be nullified instantly because of Infinity being activated. Now, speaking of the moves in Infinity, we have Blue, which creates a blue orb and then drags anybody who's around him into the orb and then completely eviscerates them into thin air. Red is a one-shot, I guess, kind of beam. You can shoot at people and it completely burns them as the beam goes through them, and it also decimates objects as well. And now, possibly his most intense move in this moveset is Hollow Purple, or I think it's called Purple. I forgot what it's called, but it pretty much just nukes the area. It creates a large purple orb that forms when you combine red and blue, and then anybody who's in front of you and the area in front of you will get completely destroyed. I can't wait to see what that looks like. All right, and for the final character that we have on this list, we have the one and only KJ. Now, since KJ is only available to the devs, admins, and maybe a few special select people in the game, I'm going to apply that logic to his drop rate and make his drop rate 1 out of 999,999. Maybe add like 300 more nines to that number, and there you go, you got KJ's drop rate. Now, going into his moveset, KJ has stickman-like punches, which are very nonchalant in a reference to the original KJ from the YouTube series. His wall combo is absolutely brilliant. Like, he's the first character to have a cutscene in his wall combo, and on top of that, his wall combo does like 50 damage, which is the most damage out of any wall combo in the game, and absolutely crazy. And now, going into his ultimate, upon starting his ultimate, as you power up, you get the little KJ logo around you, signifying that you're now in KJ mode, I guess they're gonna call it. His ultimate moves are amazing. One of them are Stoic Bomb, and with this move, Stoic Bomb, you can literally just farm kills and reset your ultimate every time, which is crazy. I can't even begin to imagine him in a public server. His other ultimate moves are 2020 Dropkick, which is of course one of the most mind-boggling moves that people go crazy over, because it's literally a cutscene, or it's literally a dropkick that has a crazy cutscene and it literally decimates people. Actually, I don't know if it does that much damage, but it's pretty cool. And then the final move, 5 Seasons, is like a giant punch attack, which is similar to missiles, in which the character jumps up into the air and then rains a bunch of punches into the ground, and it actually does area damage, and I think it insta kills as well, which is absolutely crazy, bro. So with that, I think that's the list